So looking back on all of this now, I can see that there's a process to every season of faith, and it's always very similar. And they all have these 7 stages, and it's pretty linear actually. Like these things follow in this order, in my experience. So the first one is the triggering event, right? So like the first season I mentioned, obviously that was my divorce. That was the triggering event. When it came to God calling me out of my job, the more recent season I went through, the triggering event was like him kind of calling me out of it. But even before that, like I was just going through I was just struggling in that job. So that was kind of the triggering event in that case. But each one of these seasons had a triggering event. The second stage is the leap itself, right? So you have the triggering event, and from that triggering event, you basically have a decision to make where you're going to stay or you're going to jump off that ledge and trust that God is going to catch you. Trust that you are at that ledge for a reason and it is safe to take that leap. So that's the second stage. The third one is starting on the path, right? So you've taken the leap. You are embarking on this walk in faith now, and you're starting on your path. And in this stage, the road will rise to meet you. So this is the stage where it's like you're taking the steps and the path unfolds before you as you take each step. This is also where you will experience synchronicities and serendipity, and a lot of other things will start to kind of happen. It's almost like God's dropping these little breadcrumbs along the way as you're walking along, or little things are popping up to help you find your way on your path, right? And then comes the storm. So that's number 4, the storm, but also the calm that comes with the storm. So assuming that you are staying close to God as you are doing this, right? That is key through all of this, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to do this, you better make sure that you are staying connected to him, and however that looks for you, prayer, meditation, whatever, right? But you want to make sure you're staying close and connected to God, because as you do this, it's going to give you the supernatural peace that you are going to need in order to move through the storm. So I will never forget this. When I was going through my divorce, I was in my current position in my job at that time. I think I was like in my second year or something. Something like that. I was pregnant with my daughter, but I hadn't told anyone at work yet. And I didn't want to tell anyone at work about going through the divorce either, because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to get a promotion if they knew I was pregnant and going through a divorce. Now I know like that's illegal and like whatever, but like this is where my mind was, right? So um I was just, I can't even explain it. It was such a strange space to be in my life, where it's like, because in a lot of ways it was unexpected. Like there was a triggering event and there was things leading up to it, yes, but like I just never saw myself doing that. And so everything had to start to change as I started to embark on this, right? So it was just chaos. It felt like my life was like this giant tornado, and like all the pieces of my life were swirling around me. Um, and it was a giant mess and a whirlwind. And I'm just like standing there in the middle of it, but yet I wasn't afraid of it. It's like, it's hard to explain, but I get this vision every time I talk about this, of me in the middle of a tornado or a hurricane, and like all of the noise of the storm and the chaos of that storm is swirling all around you, but you're it's like you're in this bubble and you feel safe, and you have this inexplicable peace that I can only it can't be from anything but God. I don't know where else something like that would come from when you are in the midst of such a scary, destructive, painful time in your life, right? So that is what the storm is. Um, and there's always some form of the storm and the supernatural peace that comes with it when you're moving through faith and staying very close to God. The fifth sort of stage is the crumbling and humbling, I like to call it, because like I said, it's like all of your reality, all of these pieces of whatever is relevant to this season of faith that you're moving through, various aspects of your life are going to crumble down and fall apart around you. And it is going to be very humbling. And there's a lot of stuff that you are going to be stripped of. And it can be a very painful and humbling process, as I mentioned. However, it has a purpose. It's not futile. It's not pointless. It's God clearing the way of all the crud so he can give you the better. He can build new. He can restore and renew, and remove all of this stuff that you kind of built around yourself, in the process of creating whatever it is in your reality that that you're taking a leap of faith away from or out of, let's say. So that's the 5th stage. The 6th stage is kind of feeling your way or finding your way, as you're walking along your path, walking blindly. So this is like the walking by faith, not by sight. This is kind of like the way my spirit team and God was kind of helping me understand it in these recent months was like, it's like an initiation. And it's like you're blindfolded and you're trying to find your way and you have no idea if you're on the right track. God is very quiet at this time, but he's present. So it can be scary at times. And there's definitely moments where you're like, where are you, God? Like, what the hell? And this is the part where you start questioning, like, what have I done? Did I make a giant mistake? Maybe God wasn't really calling me out to do this. Like, oh my God, all of that stuff starts to come up in this stage. But it's part of God is stepping back and being quiet, because it's the part of this stage is about you building up your intuition and learning to rely on the spirit within you and on your own inner compass that he has provided all of us when he created each of us. As I mentioned before, we're all fractals of God. We all have a spirit, and we are a spirit in a physical body. So that's what 6 is all about. It's about be kind of learning to detach from the need to have all of these answers and looking outside of yourself and learning to go within and feeling your way through that part of your path and that part of your journey. And then the 7th thing is the rebuild and restoration phase. So that's, you've kind of come through all of this, you're coming out on the other side, you've made it through the storm, all of the stuff that needed to be shed and removed and taken out of the picture so God can answer your prayer, basically. So God can give you what you're trying to achieve through this whole process. Now the rebuild and restoration can start to happen, because you've reached that sort of phase, and that's what time it is when you kind of get to this point in the journey.